Welcome into Pugs and Parker. I'm Pugs. He's Parker. Pugs and Parker every Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Central Time. Let's bring in E. E is also here. Upper right E. What's happening, boys?
I defer. Go ahead, E.
Well, I don't know. For me, it's just a normal day.
All right.
Not a lot going on.
Sorry. Bringing the heat right from the gate. Not like, what up, Byron? Come on, gang. Circle on in. Plenty of room in the chat room. Grab a beanbag chair, form that soul circle of life, join hands, and, enjoy the next hour or so.
See, I'm not feeling like I can talk about like what I got going on. So I just say not a lot.
What do you mean you can't? What do you mean? Why?
We can't let that go, dude. What the hell?
Yeah, are you involved in illegal activities, or are these just ultra personal things?
They're not illegal activities.
Okay, all right.
But they border on maybe secretive activities.
Oh, okay. All right, I got you. I hear you, man. Well, look, there's nothing wrong with that. You got big surprise birthday party plans coming up. That's stressing you out. Can't talk about it. James, I think that's a reasonable excuse.
Well, also, he could just be opening another franchise of the Tulsa King or whatever, And
It's true.
You got to pay off all the right people, and there's probably some blowback, like Brody might have gotten kidnapped or something, and he might be dealing with that. I'm going on about my life with my little goofy clients, making a few bucks here, and we don't know. We do not know what Emil does the other 23 hours a day. He could have just like rescued someone from a kidnapping job. He could have bullet holes in the trunk of his, I don't know, El Camino or something. We don't know what he does.
James.
What?
James. All right, let's pretend. Can we make E go away?
Yeah, I can do that. Hang on.
Yeah, make him go away. Just
Go
for a
away.
second. CIA. I've been thinking it for like a decade now. Total CIA. I mean, everything checks out. He's always getting on planes. They're private jets. He's just gone, unaccounted for. Don't know where the hell he is. Comes back, claims he's like, Disneyland. I'm like, nobody goes to fucking Disneyland 6 times a year. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what's going on here? All right, you can bring him back. That's my thoughts.
Wait. Does CIA pay that well?
Assassin? I don't know, dude. Mark? I don't know.
Some sides of the line, kind of, The Departed, Whitey Bulger kind of.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, good. Keep him in this corner. I don't think you can hear this. Maybe that's why he is like in real life, like the real life that we know. He's like super good. Like super good. Like it's gross. Dude, I went to his house today and I told you, he's like a man of serious faith. He's got one of those like he has risen signs in his front yard. So he's like, and he gave up an entire holiday with his family to go rescue a bunch of strangers on a lake. Maybe that's overcompensating for some like really nasty shit he does on the global stage.
Yeah, he probably had to leave some people in a sinking boat in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle or some shit. Bunch of heroin in the bilge.
He probably killed Bin Laden. He's
No,
probably
he didn't kill Bin Laden. He just had a medium-sized boat that was running from the Bahamas to Miami or somewhere, in the beach north of there, Fort Lauderdale or some crap like that.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that got away with it for a long time. And some people around him probably fell, so he had to lay low, and he's just been spending his millions saying, "Oh, I'm an artist." Sure you are.
Here's the thing. Exactly. Who's buying those paintings for that amount of money? Come on. That's
Right.
totally how you fund a lifestyle. They're not paying for that. They're paying for taking.
Well, the fun part, like Hunter Biden copied Emil for his next gig, and then you have Sylvester Stallone copying Emil by saying, "I'm just going to go buy a pot farm in Tulsa," and what could possibly go wrong? Bring him back.
No, I had one other thing that I wanted to say. Okay, so I've thought that a long time. Bring him back, right? Never mind, just bring him back. Thankfully, he couldn't hear anything.
Oh no, he didn't hear any of that.
I didn't hear any of that. There's a sorry. I don't know, some technical glitches on ours, but you probably, you dumb old man. You probably unplugged something with your ankle and you disappeared yourself. Yes. All right, let's see if Emil is there now.
All right, so I'm back,
Yeah.
and as I had timeout in the timeout room, I thought about like it's because of my past life that what's going on in my current life feels like it needs to be secret.
Wait a second. Okay. So are we talking about your acknowledged past life, the one that's out in the open and ready for the book?
Yeah, the acknowledged past life, like out there.
Have we ever told that story?
Well, no. Well, I mean,
We
let's
don't
just
need to.
yeah,
Okay.
the other side of the other side of the tracks. Okay,
If you want anyone to
so
know
now,
what's going on, you got to tell the story. What are you talking
No,
about?
no, no, no. Look, not right now. Not right now.
well, he's
It's-
okay, but we're
You're
not.
right. You're right. I should not have brought it up. That was my bad. I screwed that up, man. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, but let's just say
Great story though.
we've discussed the fact that I'm investing in a pot farm.
Heroic, really.
Correct?
What?
We've discussed the fact that I'm investing in a pot farm.
Well, I would consider that more like a pharmaceutical investment, but yeah.
Right, but we've discussed that. So
Yes,
Yeah.
because you watched the first season of Tulsa King and went, I could do that.
it was interesting. Yes. So then when you start to receive emails relative to that business in text messages,
Oh.
it seems odd to find these on your phone because in the past you would never have somebody text you that and put that on your phone.
Right, like the current price of legal weed in Oklahoma. Somebody's updating you that, and you feel like maybe that still feels sketchy to you.
Well, yeah, and they're like sending you, and then like I'm responding to these things, and I'm like, wait a minute, you responded to something was like that. And let me give you for example, like today, it says you need 480 total clones or 380. And then the guy responds, 384 to be exact, but we should have, probably an extra 10% by account for any failure for the crop to grow, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it's just like, and then you start seeing this, conversation develop on your text.
Yeah, 1 second.
Stream.
Clones are plants, correct? Or the plants that you use to do you
To
know what?
create the plant. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you start the plant. So you
Yeah.
buy a clone.
Yeah, but they're all clones because it's Sinsemilla. Sinsemilla is Spanish for without seeds. And so you can't just grow it from a seed. They all have to be clones.
Yeah. So then
You know how you didn't you know how starting about 10, 15 years ago you didn't have to pick seeds out of your weed anymore?
Jesus, 10, 15. More like 30 for E and 20 for me. I was still picking seeds out in the 90s when E was getting the good stuff. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Right.
Suddenly everything is seedless.
So
Yeah,
what
and
we
so
know
then
here
you
is
get
the
your
government doesn't-
clones.
The government doesn't sell that skanky seed weed. They only do the Sinsemilla.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice of them? Isn't that nice?
You want that stuff, you got to go to Bobby Garza in 2005.
So this is the thing that I think is funny, right? So in Oklahoma, it's legal to produce marijuana as a grower if you're selling to a medical population. So it's medical use only, right? And so now the clones that essentially you buy to create this, listen to the names or the strand names: Apple Jacks, Bittersweet, Jealousy, Sure Breath, or Truffle Cake. Now, I'm buying this for medical use only.
Yeah, so why do they need the silly names?
Why do they need the silly names?
Why do they need the frisbee golf crowd appealing names? That's funny. It's true.
Right?
Yeah,
Like-
no. It's like when Louis Pasteur made penicillin or whatever. They're like, "What are you gonna call it?" He said, "I don't know. It's down to penicillin or cat piss."
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's the person who created it. They name it. So,
Yeah. Well, what if we make salicylic acid into a tablet? We could call it either aspirin or Smurf fart.
But don't you find it a little odd that
It
like you're
definitely-
getting a prescription for a doctor,
yeah.
Joke.
then you
Joke.
choose to like, okay, well, I'll have some of the truffle cake
Yeah.
for my medical condition, followed by a little dose of Apple Jacks.
Not only are you right, you're underselling it. This is a joke. This is not like, isn't it a little odd? No, this is the clown show. This is an absolute. I mean, I'm glad it's legal. Don't get me wrong, but absolute clown show. This is for medical purposes. Like someone went into
Oh,
a
in
lab,
Oklahoma? Yeah.
stared at a microscope or an Erlenmeyer flask or whatever, and came out and said the answer is Apple Jacks. No, again, I appreciate that it's legal. It just needs to be wide open legal. If we're gonna have this clown show, it's embarrassing that we make people go through this song and dance. That's all.
Is James the libertarian advocating for federalization of marijuana?
No, I'm claiming for the repeal of all marijuana prohibition at every level.
Well, anyway, so that
Look at that. You and your libertarian bag of tricks.
Grow a plant, smoke it. What's
so that's all. That's why I said it's like I have a lot of different things going on, but I sometimes have trouble sharing it because it's like it seems weird to share it because I'm in a state where it's not legal, but I guess it's close to damn enough.
All right.
Dude, when I first moved to New Orleans and I learned you could carry a drink outside of a bar just down the street, the first 10 times I did it, I felt really shady doing it. Like I was hiding it from cops. Only some of beer. Hey, idiot, it's legal. No, I know that feeling, dude. You still feel like it's shady just because it's been ingrained in you for 6 decades.
Yeah, and it feels weird. Like I'm is it okay to respond from Texas? Like, because it's not legal here, but it's
right?
legal in Oklahoma.
You get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
What are the minutia of the laws here? Because the actual laws themselves are so incredibly flimsy and absurdly confusing. We could do a show, and maybe we should do a show in the future on this whole Texas Delta 8, Delta 9 conversation that we can get into about this.
I haven't been able to figure it out in 84 hours since I found out about it.
It's the most insane. James, are you familiar at all with this? We don't need to get dug deep into it now, but...
So these are chemical analogs to THC that supposedly just have one little chemical in some big larger network grid of covalent bonds or whatever the hell that stuff was from chemistry. And just one or two of them is just kind of shuffled off and it's supposed to give you the same high, but technically it's legal.
Yes, it's a Delta 9 is the one that comes in abundance, and that is the primary intoxicant when you smoke cannabis sativa. When you get high, the chemical that is primarily responsible for that high is Delta 9. Delta 8 is lesser. There's less of that, but that also gets you high. There's just less of it, so it's rarer.
But where does THC fall in this? Is it a delta of some sort?
No, here. Yes. Well, yeah, I think THC is the bigger name of the whole thing. What we're talking of the whole plant, right?
Okay, so that's a the deltas are a subset of tetrahydrocannabinol.
These are the chemicals that get you high. These are why when you can smoke a daisy and not get high because it doesn't have these chemicals in it. But it's Delta 9 and Delta 8. Delta 9 is primarily the one that accounts for your high. Most of it.
Are these extracted in a lab or are these just some squeezed out of a plant? How does this go about?
Okay, but here's the deal. Okay, so Trump, God love him, in 2018 passed the Farm Bill, the Farm Act, and within that it made growing hemp and selling hemp and hemp-derived products, all hemp-derived products, legally at the federal level, right? So this little thing basically legalized marijuana because hemp is a cultivated marijuana. In 2019, a year later, Greg Abbott signed the Texas Farm Bill, which did the exact same thing in Texas, which essentially just codified the federal ruling of the law. So,
good.
So here's the thing, though. With hemp, which is cultivated cannabis sativa, which means that man had to get involved and create it, like a breed.
Right. It's not a weed grown in a ditch.
It's a cultivated. Hemp is cultivated. So. But it's also used in industry and all that kind of stuff. So that was the idea behind legalizing it. However, because it's cultivated from the cannabis sativa, it still has some degree of that Delta 9 and Delta 8, right? But in the Farm Bill and also in the Texas bill, it says it has to have 0.03 or 0.3, whatever it is. It's a number like that.
Isn't it 0.3 or less?
Yeah, is it 0.3? I don't know.
Something like that.
Whatever, something like that. I don't think we need to get buried in the minutia. But essentially, there's a number that all hemp is accepted to have of this will get you high. So what that means is, because the laws also say that all hemp-derived products, that's a hemp-derived product that now legally gets you high. So if you pull that out of the legally grown hemp and put it in edibles or tinctures or make vapes out of them or whatever, completely legal at both the federal level and here in Texas. And they're being sold. That's why you're seeing all of these stores with Delta 9. It's wheat. You can.
All right, hang on.
I've done it recently.
And it works.
Yes, it's real. Yes.
Because there was when I remember when like 15 years ago when synthetic weed got really popular, I tried some of that and it would get you messed up, but it wasn't the same as weed, and I didn't like it, and I didn't do it again. I just
I think a lot of people.
Hold on, let me interrupt you. Someone in our chat room is actually an expert on all this because they are in this business. And if that person in the chat room would like to chime in as an expert, just let me know and I can call that person in the chat room. But go ahead.
Well, I remember that, and I think it was actually stuff that was being sold at a lot of the, I'd refer to them as the novelty shops or the head shops, Gas Pipe, I think, and they had that synthetic weed in a bag.
It's terrible.
And for a while it was legal, but then
K2.
everybody found out it was like K2, and it had a lot of bad effects. And I think a lot of people mistakenly are thinking this Delta 8 or this Delta 9 is some synthetic reproduction of K2 in a different variation, when reality is it's the actual chemical, like you guys were saying, that comes from either the marijuana plant or the hemp plant, which are so close and have so many properties together that you can get Delta 9 out of a marijuana plant, or you can get Delta 9 out of a hemp plant. Now, the question is, and this is what Pugs and I have been trying to figure out.
I'm very confused.
What the hell is the difference between a marijuana Delta 9 and a hemp plant Delta 9? And why is the potency, if it's in a marijuana plant, on the Delta 9 higher than 333? Immediately let you know that it's not a hemp plant or whatever it is. Let you know it's not a hemp plant and know immediately it's a marijuana plant.
So let's just set the bar, because I just Googled it. Here's the quick Google explanation. The question I Googled was, is Delta 9 legal? And it says hemp-derived products with Delta 9 concentrations of 0.3% or less on a dry weight basis are federally legal and legal in Texas. Notwithstanding any other law, a person may possess, transport, sell, and purchase legally produced non-consumable hemp products in this state. I don't know what that means.
What non-consumable means that you can't eat it, right?
I don't know what that means. But there are stores all over Texas selling it.
Yeah, so you can grow all the weed you want as long as it's really, really weak.
No, it's not.
No. I'm saying the plant itself has to be really weak, from which this stuff is derived.
So here is something that I noticed about the edibles. The edibles that I had here, the legal Delta 9 infused edibles. So in Illinois, where it's legal, when you buy edibles, like I get gummies, right? So you get like a thing of 10 gummies, and they're just little tiny, they're the size of gummy bears, and they have 10 milligrams of whatever it is that gets you high. That's it says 10 milligram per dose.
Sure.
Here, the gummies also have 10 milligrams per dose, but the doses are like 5 times the size. So I'm like,
So you got to eat more gummy?
Right. But that's because the law says that it's like per weight of the finished product. So the finished product cannot contain more than 0.03% of this. But of the complete weight. So if the brownie weighs 10 pounds, you can have a whole shit ton of this stuff in there and get everybody high. But so that's why the edibles are a little bit bigger, to be the same 10 mLs as you would in a legal place like Illinois, where you get like a regular gummy bear and you just eat it.
So it feeds the obesity problem. It fits with it well. Not only will we get you high, we'll give you more of the edible.
The gummies that I ate, I probably ate about, here's how you could put it. I probably ate about 500 calories in gummies.
Fair.
Whereas the legal ones, maybe 100, 150.
I mean, very Texas-like. You know, if we are going to have edibles, they're going to be bigger and better in Texas. So, like, I could see Governor Abbott like signing that bill.
Very good. They're very good.
This is sort of congruent to what they do in Oklahoma with beer, where the strongest beer can be is 3.2% alcohol. And so you have to, and when I first moved to Oklahoma, I thought I was Superman. I was like, man, I've had 10 beers tonight and I'm ready to go. But it's all 3.2%. They have weak beer there. And so, you know, what a ripoff. You come back to Texas and you can drink beer that's like 6% alcohol or 5% alcohol. Just get yourself twice as trash, twice as fast. Anyway, this is like the weed version of that, but Texas is doing it. And yeah, you can have legal weed. It just has to be extremely weak.
No, that's what I'm telling you. It's one hit weed, dude. It's one hit weed.
No. Yeah, but you got to eat a gummy bear the size of your fist.
No. This is where Emil and I are also confused because like the flower is also legal, but is it hemp we're smoking? I don't know.
Like,
we're gonna find this out. It's very shadowy.
Yeah, we need an on the streets report for this. Like this.
I mean, wait a second. I shouldn't say that at all. We're trying to be humorous. It's the place I bought this at is not shadowy at all. I mean, that's because it's a new. I don't want to look. I'm very pro legalization of this, and I was trying to be humorous. But like Emil said earlier, I feel guilty. I feel even though I'm doing something completely legal, I feel guilty like I'm not.
Almost like
like I mean, how can you go in there and get a glass jar, filled with what looks like what for your whole life was a nugget, of weed with the red hairs and everything on it and the crystals, you look at it and you're like, weed. And you're buying it off the shelf at one of these stores and you're in the state of Texas. I don't
know either.
So how much of this stuff have y'all tried? Have y'all done the vapes? Because they sell those, the Hindu guys at the corner store sell the Delta 8 vapes.
I think the Delta 8 might be a lesser high. I think you want to go with the Delta 9. It's like the more.
I've done Delta 8
intoxicants.
I've done Delta 8, but I did not do it here. I did it in Hawaii.
And you liked it. I
was absent, from doing weed for a long period of time. And so this was my first go back into doing some weed. And I did do Delta 8 and I did feel something, but it was mild. It was not as strong as the usual high that I would get from before, but it was there. The Delta 9 stuff, I can tell you, to me, it feels like normal pound you in the head weed, like it's some good strong weed that you would have. So I can't figure out what is the difference between Smoke Shop Delta 9 and what I used to be able to get from a dealer that was called, if I get caught with this, I could go to jail.
Here, let me read this. This seems to be some expertise on us because we might be spinning our wheels, and I'm really just going off stuff I've only learned recently. So I'm parroting stuff from other. Here's what this says. I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of THC products pop up around in shops and online lately, starting with the Delta 8 THC, and now being able to expand to lots of Delta 9 THC options and even alternative cannabinoids. What is Delta 9 THC? THC's scientific name is Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or Delta 9 for short. So Delta 9 is even before the THC. It's like Delta 9. So the official name is Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or Delta 9 for short. Delta 9 is a cannabinoid. THC is the active compound in cannabis that causes you to get high. The compound is the main reason people consume cannabis, either for fun or for medical purposes. How is Delta 9 THC legal?
Smoke weed every day.
Hemp-derived Delta 9 THC is legal in all states as long as each product contains less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC by dry weight. These magic words are very important because remember, this doesn't count when you're cooking and you're making edibles and stuff. All right.
Is that what it says?
Yeah. Delta 9.
It says these magic words are important. Or you said
No,
that?
that's the writer. That's the writer of the article pointing this out.
Okay.
This means that products made from hemp, such as hemp-derived Delta 9 THC tinctures and Delta 9 THC gummies, are legal to purchase and consume in all 50 states. Now, here's the problem with it. There are
So that's from the Trump bill, the Trump Farm Bill.
2018 Farm Bill. Or federal part, whatever it was. And then in 2019, Abbott basically codified it here in Texas with his own bill that said the exact same thing, which is why when you're driving around and you're seeing these places advertising for these things and you're like, how does that even exist? You go on in if you want to try it. I can tell you, I have. Whee!
Yeah, it really does feel like a setup, though.
And all going back to what Emil opened the show with. Do you see how beautifully we came back to it? It's because it's so even though it's legal, it still just feels shady.
Shady, right? You don't feel like you can talk about it.
No, and what is it?
And we just did.
We did.
Well, here's also the funny
I
part.
disclosed 485 clones in the types that we will have next Friday.
Wait, so you just bought how many weed plants?
485.
Emil just bought 4. Oh my.
Well, not me, but the grow farm that I am associated with.
Man, just own it. What are you scared of? You don't need to put any like gray area between you and this. This is all legal. This is all above board. This is what the government wants. This is what medicine wants you to do. This is what science wants you to do. You're saving people's lives. This is medical marijuana. This isn't like recreational. This isn't for Snoop Dogg or Martha Stewart or anything like that. This is for patients who need it badly in gummy form.
I don't know. I think about it that way, like the good thing, but then I also think about it in terms of like, wow, isn't it cool to be doing something that was like illegal that's now legal, and then someday, like, I'll be able to look back and go, yeah, I was doing it when that happened.
Yeah, and have you done the thing where have you fast forwarded in your head what it's going to be like in about 10 more years, where we have to explain to our kids what it used to be like to buy weed? Like we do a shady.
Well, that would be like, would that be like the prohibition period? Like, well, because it was never really legal, so I don't know that it was the prohibition period, but it's like
I found
the end of the illegality era.
I found what I think is a local news story that we all missed because nobody watches local news anymore, but about this very subject. Let's check this out. All right, here we go.
It's all unregulated. It's the Wild West out there.
That's the Wild West.
It's all unregulated. It's the Wild West out there.
This lush green plant is not pot. It can, though, get you high.
This is not traditional marijuana, but I dare you to compare it.
Inside Hydro Shack Hydroponics, owner Chris Powers says something
That's what
unsuspecting
it looks like.
can
Powers?
save his garden shop.
It is a cannabis, a special kind called hemp, and it's very low in THC, and that's actually legal to grow in Texas now.
Powers points to a booming cannabis industry here in Texas, fueled by the 2018 Farm Bill. The legislation legalized hemp plants, which contain extremely low concentrations of the psychoactive compound Delta 9 THC, typically found in marijuana. Entrepreneurs are now extracting any compound they want from hemp, narrowing in on Delta 8 THC.
Yeah, demand is like this, and people are grateful that we're here and selling it. Yeah, very grateful. Yes, that's the feeling I get.
Delta 8 isn't as strong and binds to your system slightly different compared to Delta 9, which remains illegal in the state. Powers describes Delta 8 as enjoyable.
If I take the tincture, under the tongue tincture, you have to take a nice small amount and be patient, as it takes, for me personally, with my body, it takes about 4 hours to kick in. So I have to wait and wait.
You better start
and then it
jogging,
kinda kicks
dude.
in,
That's a
you're like, oh,
slow-ass
okay, just feel
metabolism.
relaxed and
4
peaceful.
hours.
Yeah, so it's good.
You taking
So
drug
it's very
advice
top
from
shelf
that guy?
flour. It's infused
Right?
with A Delta 8 concentrate.
Colin Valencia with Oil Well Cannabis sells Delta 8 inside Powers Heights business.
So that's something you would smoke. You would ideally roll that in a joint.
You could make an extract with it. You could.
This whole thing is like 5 minutes of this. Do you want to keep going or should we move on?
Oh, I'm interested, dude.
Well, yeah, you're interested in to the tune of $500,000, but Mr. 400 pot plants is of course interested in this. I'm interested in watching these people tap dance around like I don't know all these terms. How would you possibly do this? Are you telling me you could roll it up in a piece of paper and inhale the smoke?
Dude, it's like, hey, it takes, me personally, with my constitution, it takes about 4 hours to kick in. Now, I don't know if he was humble bragging that he's so, such a heavyweight when it comes to weed, or if he was just telling on himself that he hasn't gotten off the couch in 20 years.
I honestly think this is a slap in the face to all of the people that have went to their doctor in these other states and have presented with a medical condition to get the ability to do weed. And now Texas has just said, screw all you people that have gotten a medical exception. We're going to give it to everybody in this dose. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not a slap in the face.
A slap in the face? What's wrong with you?
Yes, it is. These people worked hard in those states to go to those doctors and come up with a plan of why they need to be on medical marijuana.
Yes, and you should be
You
happy.
know that they have a real need. It's not that they want to
For the
smoke.
pioneers, is that what you are? These people shouldn't have to go through the same thing in order to be worthy. It was wrong that those people had to go through those terrible steps in order to ease their pain, but we are now acknowledging that that's wrong. So why are you sitting here like some Nazi demanding vengeance from all the next generations to pay because these people had to wait in line?
Because if I had a nutsack and I actually went to a doctor and told them that I was paranoid and that I needed to get marijuana to get me unparanoid, which is all it really required. But if I was that committed to going and getting weed through a medical prescription, at least I took the time to go do that. There were a lot of people that smoke illegally that were like, I'm not going to go get the prescription. I'm still going to have my dealer come drop it off. That was like the thing. When it went legal in your state, if it went legal in your state, but it was only medical, did you really go to the trouble of getting your medical card, or did you just have your dealer keep on coming by? A lot of people just had their dealer keep coming by.
No.
Agreed? No.
So now, in this case, we're like, well, we're not going to go through that part of making medical, the first step here. We're just going to go, okay, Delta 8, Delta 9 to a certain degree. Go get yourself high, eat as much cookies and brownies as you want.
Humorously, I can understand the bloodlust for vengeance, okay? But, in the real, I get it, okay? But in the real world, it's like, man, thank God they corrected a wrong. However, there is something to what you've just said that struck me. And that is, how many kids had their lives flushed down the toilet because they were buying weed for grandpa who had cancer? Or, you know what I mean? How many people? No, I'm not saying that that's everybody, and I'm not trying to paint some picture, but there were lives that were ruined. Because I can tell you that I got my grandpa high when he was dying of cancer. I went out, I got some weed. So now, okay, we all know I was already going, but what if I wasn't? What if I wasn't already going?
Right.
And, so by today's standards, that seems terribly cruel. But here's the thing, we don't dwell in acknowledgement of the cruelty of our past. We just move on. We go, you know what, that was bad. Let's write that down and make sure we don't do it again. So, I have no bloodlust. James, go ahead. I bet you as the libertarian.
Well, y'all already know what I'm going to say. I think everything should be legal and over the counter. So I'm just going to be repeating stuff you're expecting me to say, and that's no fun. I would like to point out the fun observation that how E can remain so silent during so many of these other discussions, whether it's trans issues or war on women, Me Too movement, or what's going on in sports, or something political, or an election, or race wars, or whatever. But he just gave us a good half hour on weed.
Yeah, you did. You did. All right. I got something I want to do unless you guys have something better. But I have something that's sort of an addendum to what we discussed last night. It's a quick video. You want to watch it? You want to play a good game, or you got something good? You got
Go
something.
for it. Let me see it.
All right. So yesterday, remember when we were sort of chastising young James, trying to give him some father and unclely advice on chivalry about how to treat a snowstorm and a one-night stand? You got to go.
Right.
What do we tell him? What do we tell him?
Yeah.
We told him that he has to go out, warm up the car, shovel off the path to the car, and when he gets to the car, make sure he clears the windows off. No ice, Also, basically, your lady friend can make it down the drive without slipping and into her car as warm as possible to get her back home safely.
Exactly. And there was a part of that made me feel a little ooky, like maybe we were trying to chivalry scoreboard James. That was kind of a layup, I felt. James not being familiar with snow, he obviously tripped over his own dick on that one and completely humiliated himself and his masculinity. However, gentlemen, I want to see...
I like that metaphor, though. That's perfect.
I want to see how far... our chivalry goes. I want to show you a video of something that happened. Let me get rid of all this. James, get rid of the welcome to Pillow Talk and all that stuff. Make it a big screen.
Yeah.
So this is something that happened that was recorded. We will watch it, and then if we have any questions, if somebody would like to see it again because it's fast, we can play it a couple of times. We can really study it, but I want you gentlemen to watch it and then answer the question, what would you have done? Okay? All right. As long as we're ready. Do we understand the rules?
I do.
Okay. James?
What would you do? Yeah, I love this game.
What did you do? Okay. Stolen from, who was that guy on ABC?
Quiñones.
Jean Quiñones. All right, here we go. All right, there's no sound to, well, there is, but it's annoying music. So, can you see it?
I can.
Okay. Tell me what you're looking at.
A hot chick in a tank top and short shorts.
A guy with a motorcycle on a green shirt behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a motorcycle.
Yeah. That's very important. Good eye, E. Good eye, E. That's good on you. That's a good one. That's what we're watching for. Something's gonna happen here. They're obviously out together.
It already looks like a bad chivalry decision because the girl is on the outside in the traffic lane. If you're making the proper decision right now, you should be crossing over and she should be coming to the side.
What?
Like it's like you're treating that like if it was my 11-year-old or my kid.
Oh my God, what an incredible, that wasn't even on my radar. I was more worried about, moped boys about coming up behind. Wow. James, how about that display of chivalry from E?
I just want to see what happens in the video.
Did you not notice, though? Did you notice that they were walking incorrectly? That she should be inside and he's on the outside? Them's the rules, man.
Yeah, and I've heard both. I've heard the guy should walk on the outside in case a car goes by and splashes water from the gutter, it gets on him. But then I've also heard the guy's supposed to walk on the inside because when people used to dump their chamber pots out the window, it'd be more likely to splash on him.
Ain't nobody dumping chamber pots now.
I know, but that's where these stupid customs come from. We shake hands to show the other guy that we don't have a sword ready to stab him, okay?
All right. Let's get back to this. There ain't nobody dumping chamber pot piss out windows.
Well, why would it be better to be on the inside if you were the chamber pot?
Because then you're the one who takes the splash. Maybe you get an errant duke on your head or something.
120 years ago.
Maybe 100.
There wasn't a car. It was a chariot.
Yeah, all right, let's just move on, okay? They're out of date. Yeah. We're just gonna watch this. You people.
You titled it
All right, here you go. Whoa. What's happening here? What's happening here, gentlemen? Can you see it? There's no sound. I need you to describe what's happening here.
He touched her back.
I think he tried to unsnap her bra.
No, he tried to Did she have a purse? Did he try and snatch her purse?
Yeah. Anything else going on right now in that picture? Nobody sees him pointing a gun at her. He's pointing his.
Oh, I can't tell that's a gun.
Yeah, well, it is. Okay, so it's small. That's actually why. It is absolutely a gun. He is holding a gun to her. Let's see how this plays out. And
Oh, there I see the gun.
there goes the boyfriend. He just okay. Let's watch it one more time. Pay attention to the yeah, and he's out. He's gone.
Yeah, that's the fight or flight rule.
All right, one more time, just so there's no mistaking. By the way, she's kind of hot.
Yeah, definitely.
She looks hot. Look at she's like.
What did he steal? Her headphones?
Yeah, it looks like yeah. What does she got? She's got a purse in her right hand. She's swinging.
She's got headphones on.
Okay.
Okay, and she's swinging a purse in her right hand.
You took the purse and the headphones.
Okay.
Oh, and her
pants.
No, he left the headphones.
He took her pants.
No,
her man purse or her fanny
just
pack.
covering up.
What was it?
Okay,
Was that
let's
it?
stop lusting after the crime victim. Let's direct your attention to the boyfriend. Watch what he does. He sees the gun. He's out of here. He is gone. All right, so gentlemen, as I said, thank you for playing our game. James Parker, fair or foul? What would you have done?
Totally foul. I know this is one of the dumbest things you're ever going to hear me say, and that's a bold statement. I mean, out of 20 years. I've been lusting for a moment like this where I can fight the guy, because I'm gonna fight. I'll probably die. I'm not like a trained fighter or anything, but if that happens, like, I would love to fight that guy. I would, and if I died, my kids would think I'm a freaking hero. That's a good way to go out, dude. I've already had a good life. I've already done everything I wanted to do. I reproduce. I have 4 kids, and they're already gonna be all right. They're doing good.
They got a rich Uncle E. Yeah, they're fine. Yeah. You just hitch your wagon up to good old rich Uncle E.
Yeah, remember the guy used to be rich before he wasted all his money on a pot farm? That guy.
Cosplaying Tulsa King.
So, I personally think in that instance, you give them whatever they want. You don't need to be fighting.
No.
You don't
No.
need.
No.
You do not want to fight a guy with a gun. There is no sense to fighting a guy with a gun.
First off, that's a little bitch gun. What is that, a 22 or whatever? Second off, I grab your hand. I pointed away. What are you going to do with your gun now? Okay. Now, I'm not a great trained fighter, but I'm in decent shape. I just happen to be a big guy naturally. I'm 6'3". I lift weights. I can throw a dude. And it is going to be just Bruce Banner banging on him like a baboon, like doom, 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 doom. That's what I'm just going to do to him until he's freaking dead. Or I'll take his gun away from him and I'll shoot him in his neck. And then I'll just be splattered blood all over me and I'll go hug my wife. I dream about that moment. I dream about it. Like the chivalry idiot in me. Like the sensible.
See, and I think, okay, that could be literally the way that you're wired. And if you're wired like that, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to fight, and then it comes to, okay, fight or flight, maybe some guys go the flight mode. I think if you wire yourself to, okay, if I ever get to a point where a guy pulls out a gun on me, what am I going to do? And you think about that in advance. I think like, okay, whatever you want. I'll give you my wallet. I'll give you my watch. Anything that you want on me, it's not worth trying to get in a fight with you over. Anything, car, truck, diamonds, whatever, just take it.
I used to think that.
And that may be the bitch way of going. I don't know. I'm honest, but I just don't think it's worth it.
I used to think like that, but the older I get and the less I want to live, because the more you experience life and the more you cross all these landmarks, your incentive for living just dwindles. Like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna have a threesome? I've already done that. Am I gonna slam dunk a basketball? I've already done that. Like I've already been on the radio. I've already accomplished most of my goals. I've bought a house. I've lived a great life. My kids. I'm good. I'm even if I die now, I'm still gonna live on through them.
See, and I don't see it like that. I see it now that I got a kid. That's the reason I wouldn't do some stupid shit like that I would do before. Like, I think, okay, if I didn't have a kid and the dude had a gun and I was having a half-ass bad day, I might just want to try and go and whip his ass. But then I think, well, okay, if I'm not here, then who suffers in that equation? I think, well, I got a kid, or I got a wife, or I got this, or I got that, and I got to worry about. That's really what prevents me from going and doing stupid stuff like that.
I think
Because I remember there were times when I would walk into a room and dudes had lots of guns and there was lots of cash and lots of drugs, and I would walk in and walk out and go, "Oh yeah, cool." Every day, friggin',
He keeps dancing around the story of his sordid past. That's fine.
Well, but I mean,
Great.
you walk in and you're like, you think you're bulletproof because you don't have anybody else with you.
No. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll weigh in now. He's a laughing stock of the internet, and all these keyboard alphas are talking about what they do. I'm sorry, my man handled it the right way. As Al, I think in the chat room said, I completely agree. There should have been an agreement if this were to happen. It looks like they're in a very sketchy country. I don't even mean neighborhood. I mean, they look like they were in a sketchy. That looks like some Central American nonsense that we're looking at right here. So
right.
So if I'm going out and I'm on a date and I live there, I probably have a good lay of the lands. I understand how dangerous it is. We have an understanding that should this occur, we immediately run off in different directions. I can't blame that guy. I think that he might have thought she was right behind him. But that's chivalry.
But I don't think that's the understanding.
What I'm saying, I would make that the understanding. I don't know. And I'm hoping that maybe they also have that way of seeing it because it's a dangerous place. Look.
I think that's like bailing the ship before you should. Like, I think you're together in a foreign...
The minute guns are introduced, you got to get the fuck out of there. Uh-huh.
Nah, man, someone's gonna...
But you leave the other one behind?
This is you got to get out of there. Yeah, guns, all of a sudden, this is about survival. Some freak in today's society introduces a gun to the situation. My God.
This is your chance, though, to kill a guy justifiably, and not only are you not going to be like played with nightmares for the rest of your life because you're a murderer, you'll be a hero. This will be a heroic moment, and this is like be the chance because you've talked so much shit to your wife about how I'd love you and I'd do anything, I'd die for you. All of a sudden, finally, I'll show this bitch. I'll die for her. I'll go beat this guy up like a bad bitch.
You'll be a hero to your kids. Because you fought the bad guy and died.
I don't see
either
it
way.
as being
Either way, I'm a hero. So I like it.
I don't see it like I'm being chivalrous because I'm saying I wouldn't run. First of all, if the agreement was we both run, I'm slow as shit, so I would be last anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't see that as a great escape plan for me. What I think is better is, okay, you have a gun. What is it that I have that you want? You can have everything. You want me to strip down naked and just as long as you leave me alone and you leave whoever I'm with alone, go on with it. I mean, that's really what it feels like. And I think that's the agreement you kind of have before there's ever a different agreement made. Yeah. It's not like, hey, you run off, I go my direction, you go your direction.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I think like we're in this together. If we're getting robbed together or robbed side by side,
that's nice. You have a killer instinct in you. Like I might
hold on, wait a second, stop too. Also, there is nothing that suggests that there is any long-term relationship between these two. These are two people. They're not even particularly walking hand in hand. They just met. They're going home to bang. He owes her nothing. Certainly not his life. Get the hell out of there. You're projecting that they're like, well, it's his to die for her. He just met her.
Yeah, but you're asking me what I would do.
How do you know he just met her? And even if he did just meet her, if you were like with somebody going into an area to go find some drugs, like have you ever been the guy that like, hey, we're in this area, we need to get some, and everybody doesn't know where to find it, and they're like, well, how about we send these two on an expedition?
I want to know why they didn't react earlier to the sound of the approaching moped. That's, if they are regulars, if they live there, they should know.
True.
They're not the first victims of the illicit moped gang.
Right, but if you're on the wrong side of Livingston, Guatemala, that's not your first moped.
Yeah.
And you bring up another good point. These electric cars, they sneak up on your ass in a way that you have got no idea they're there until you turn around and all of a sudden there's this whoosh.
Yeah, it would be the chosen car of ninjas. Had they still been around and been able to choose cars, they would choose electric cars.
Okay, all right, let's move on. James, I will tell you this. Didn't really want to stand on it in this environment, but I will now, since Everybody is calling me a cuck in the chat room. James, your sons will not necessarily look at you as a hero, and this comes from a guy whose father was murdered on the streets fighting back when a guy pulled a gun. So, I mean, I appreciate the fantasy, but no, your kids want you there. No matter what, I grew up without knowing my father. So, and that absolutely informed my father's inability to just give everything up. My father tried to fight. His inability to do that informs me in my life to go, get the fuck out of there, especially now that I have a son. So I don't mean to get dark with it, but that's really Byron calling me a cuck in the chat room. I'm like, okay, man, that's funny, keyboard warrior, but I've actually been through what occurs in the aftermath of gun violence. So I'm pretty passionate about it. And, that's
It's
all.
funny you say that because out of the three of us, you would probably be the one best equipped to handle himself because all your Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you would grapple the guy to the ground and you would do some wrestling moves, some toe pick or something that me and E don't know about. And you'd be the one most likely to have that guy with his elbow broken behind his back trying to tap out.
No, I don't know anything. My 13-year-old, however, I mean, I would want to be with him if something were to go down in a Target parking lot because he's actually getting great skill.
Brazilian jiu-jitsu lessons? Like,
oh, God, not in 12 years, man. Yeah, not since I had my heart thing when I was combat wrestling.
Yeah, but you didn't forget it. You could take it.
Oh, well, yeah,
Isn't
but I'm
there
fat
something
and
to be said
slow.
about the grappling skills, about how you could take a guy down or a woman could take a guy down or
That's presuming I was ever any good. I mean, I was a guy who took a number of classes and was very interested in it, but it was never anything that I studied. Not like my kid who's in a belt program, So, I mean, he's much more serious. But I mean, I wrestled in high school. I could wrestle. You know what I mean? Before I was in therapy, I got in a whole lot of fights in my 20s, and I had temper issues and, depression, and that manifested itself with getting rip-roaring drunk at backyard parties and then, being the guy going, yeah, fuck you, motherfucker, to a stranger for no reason. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not that guy.
Well, I learned
a time when I wasn't the life of the party, I was that guy.
I learned to really respect the wrestling team. We didn't have one at Bug Tussle where I grew up because our school wasn't big enough. But when I went to college, there were people who went to schools that were big enough to have wrestling teams. I'm like, oh, what that must be like. And they're like, nobody messed with us because it didn't matter if you were like the biggest basketball player, the baddest linebacker on the football team. We could just have you on the ground and bend you in some pretzel position and make you tap out. And I was like, listen, I'm not saying I can beat you. I just want to see you do it. And so the wrestling guys at parties would beat up the soccer guys and they'd beat up the basketball guys, and they would, like any athlete out there, the wrestling guys would tumble with them, and in like 30 seconds have us in some sort of position where we go, okay, and we tap out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely
you know how to do it.
It's really useful, though.
Most people enter into the bar fight with the shove, and then somebody just throws a haymaker, right? But a guy who knows how to fight is already thinking 3 combos ahead, right? So or if he's a wrestler, he knows all I got to do is put him on his butt. How do I put this guy on his butt? The minute he swings, boom, take him down. So, I mean, that's the difference between typical guys who before like 1999, people, when they used to get into fights, they were just unskilled slobs, just throwing haymakers.
Strikers.
Just big old, dummies, galoots, just throwing bombs with their hands. No skill, no nothing. And then all of a sudden, there were 14-year-olds who could kick everyone's ass. It's like, what happened?
Well, like, you could go to a bar and you could see a good bar fight, but a good bar fight really is done in less than a minute, more often than not. And so once you, have seen it or participated in one or watched somebody, you could see a little guy go in and for 30 or 45 seconds beat the living hell out of the big guy, and then the bouncers would come and they would separate him, and the big guy looked like he had definitely lost the fight because the bouncers pulled him apart. And it used to be like, if you could get off for 30 or 40 seconds and then wait on the bouncers, okay, you get tossed out. It wasn't so bad you're fighting a big guy because everybody's going to get thrown out anyway.
James, I was the last bar fight I was involved in, E was there. E went to the...
Oh, my gosh, yes.
That's one for the 105.3 stories. Go ahead.
Where the bottle got broke over your head or whatever.
Yes.
But E is espousing the theory popularized in Dazed and Confused, where you can get the first punch in, and after a few seconds, the crowd will break it up. So even if the guy's overmatched, you can still come away a winner.
It's true though.
But in Dazed and Confused, it didn't work that well.
No, but it works a lot in bar fights. Like
Understood.
Pugs could.
I've kind of seen that. Can confirm.
I mean, if you're the bouncer makes it there, now you know that's taking some chance depending on how big the guy is. But I've seen lots of little guys do that.
But that's the other thing about bouncers in general. You know, when E and I, you know, were younger in the 80s and 90s going to bars, the bouncer was just the fattest fucking town, and he was sitting on a stool. And then also maybe it was Bobby the Bobby bodybuilder, right? He was just
the bodybuilder guys we always had.
And then all of a sudden, those guys went from being just all, you know, Potemkin villages of hostility to real fighters. Like all of a sudden you had dudes with fucked up ears standing at the door. And you're like, oh man, that guy's a professional Brazilian fighter. This changed really in about 1999. And so when we would fight, like my fighting history is all just dumb galoot fighting. And people fight for real now and it's scary. But I wanted to ask you, because it brought back the memory of my last bar fight. Was I with a girl on that trip? Or who was with who? Who was on that trip? It was
Yeah, you were with a girl.
Was it Tammy?
I think it was I'm pretty sure it was Tammy. And I remember we were over at it was the W. Yeah. And we went to the W, and that was the night that I saw Cindy Crawford.
Yeah, and we were hanging out with a bunch of giant hockey.
Right, we were at Randy Gerber's bar at the W. I think Ed was there too, and Cindy Crawford walked out, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like I looked, and she was more beautiful in person.
I don't know if you know this or not, but she's one of our favorite citizens, favorite Chicago gals. It's either every visitor such as yourself, you get to meet her, or Jenny McCarthy if you're in like a less cool place. It would be one of the two, and you got to see her.
Right, but like
VIP tour, here's Cindy Crawford.
It was the reverse. Like a lot of times you see a you know, movie star personality, somebody you haven't seen ever in person on TV, and then you see them in person and you're like, wow, man, the camera really, you know, covered a lot of that. They just didn't look as good as they did in person. Her, it was the exact opposite. Like I was like, oh my God, like her complexion, her everything about her was like just perfect. It was crazy.
Except for that mole. She could just do that.
That was the only thing that you could. But literally, she had zero makeup on. It was just like stupid.
It's also the reason. The mole is the reason she stood out. Without the mole, she's just gorgeous, and there's a bunch of gorgeous women. But the mole made her interesting. She stood out. You know, it's like sometimes these fashion models, they have gaps between their teeth. And normally that might be a turnoff for you. But, you know, in some of these fashion models, you're like, okay, all right, that's not bad. So, you know, we have...
yeah, I don't know. I remember that, and then we were at Northwestern emergency room getting you stitched up.
Yeah, they charged me $200 for an ambulance ride that went...
Dude just cold cocked him. My boy, Pugs here, I got to give him a... Cold cocked him with a beer bottle, like smack on the head.
Never saw it coming.
Bam! Like, just like, it was out of nowhere. And he stood there. Didn't go down.
Stood there.
He didn't go down.
Chased the guy. It was a whole thing with bouncers. It was the whole thing. All right, boys. Are we done? Or, I don't know, James, you got anything else you want to throw on the pile?
I don't know. My whole weekend was just kid related. And
like, we have a question. After you finish this, we have one more question for you, kid related. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like Saturday, I had one kid that had to go play tennis. He's on the middle school tennis team, and the other three kids had a soccer game, or at least one soccer game. So my kids did athletics freaking all day Saturday, and that was my entire day, like top to bottom. And then No, it's all right, dude.
It's not good.
No, it's not.
To each his own.
Well, I'm in the position now to where, look, Rex is 12. In 3 years, 4 years, he's gonna be 16. He's gonna have a license or friends with license. I'm never gonna see him again. So I really only get to do this for about three more years, right? And this is the soccer season's 8 weeks, and we do it twice a year. So really, 16 weeks out of the year, and I only get to do it for 3 more years. So I'm putting up with about what 48 more of these. So I'm starting to do weird
Who's
countdowns.
counting? Yeah. Oh, you're counting.
Me, I'm counting. I'm counting.
Oh, what about playoffs?
Playoffs.
Yeah, that hadn't been much of a factor as of late. But then, like, my daughter had someone spend the night, and then we went to church the next day, and then one of my sons was hanging out with some other kids, and so I did kid stuff all weekend, and so it was nice and pure and wholesome. I didn't do anything on Friday Eve, but it was just hanging out with the kiddos, playing music and stuff, and working on instruments and all this stuff. And there's part of me, like, the more wholesome stuff I do, like, the evil part of James, like, starts
rises.
Yeah, right. And so, like, I almost have to spend, like, a comparable amount of time doing evil stuff that I do doing good wholesome stuff. And, like, I've been doing so much wholesome good stuff lately. I'm gonna have to have, like, a weekend explosion, like where these guys are falling down or whatever, just
No, just go on a bender. Come to Dallas. Let's do a bender weekend. You can do that. Get
That's
us some
what
of
I'm
those
saying.
Delta 9 gummies that may or may not be legal. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll find out
That's
the
a-
hard way. We'll just test them. That'll be the whole point of the weekend. We'll just
That's a guy who's not comfortable in his own skin.
Who?
No,
That
no,
guy. The guy who gets consumed in his wholesome behavior, then allowing him bad behavior.
James, James, you got to step out, man. You got to step out. You got to let your freak flag fly, as they say. My kid, I had my kid this weekend, so my weekend was also consumed with child activities. Emil had hardcore family activities, which is part of the reason I'm guessing you didn't invite us to the game on Sunday. So we did not go to the game. Instead, we went for more hitting practice.
Well, you were invited to. Actually, it was 3 games on Sunday.
Anyway, that's not the story I'm telling. My kid and I had a monumentous fight. It was amazing. Have you ever had an argument? I don't even know what the argument was over. Honestly, I don't even remember, but it was a huge fight. And the whole time it's happening, I'm seeing raging, soon to be 14-year-old boy aggression and frustration over nothing. I mean, here's the thing. We were screaming at each other just because I don't know what it was. We were setting each other off, but we were screaming at each other, and we made up. We always make up. We made up, like, how it is. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have these kinds of relationships with your kids. We made up and everything's fine. But man, for that puberty thing, boy, it's like he's got a little mustache. It's like this little dude with a mustache is yelling at me. I'm like, what the hell?
Little dude with a mustache yelling at
Who's
you.
this little? Who's the Louis De Palma who's replaced my son? That's Danny DeVito from Taxi. So that was fun. But we made up. We made up. I know. Oh, we could do a whole show on this. I now remember what it was about. He basically said that he felt he could take me.
Let's go. I'm waiting for my boys to say that, because I did that to my dad when I was 15. I'm like, I'm taller than you. I work out, and you're just a fat old slob. And my dad did a like not even really trying hard, just did a punch to the chest, like to my sternum, right?
Yeah.
And it was like a grown man strength, where I'd been in a lot of fights in school, and guys didn't punch me like that. I've been punched in the face a bunch, and it didn't hurt like that. It was like, and I just didn't challenge again for years. Like,
I totally 120-30% agree, James. Like, I remember the day that I uttered those words.
Did you see, James? I'd love to tell a story about how I fought my dad, but my dad was murdered because, you see, he fought back. Right. But did you fight your dad?
Oh, I remember the day that I thought that I could take him. Yeah. I will never forget that day.
Fighting your dad.
Yeah, it did not end up well for me. Like,
how old were you? Like, when did you step
I
up?
was about stupid you're right about
Puberty,
there.
14, 15,
Yeah, right
13,
about there. I
14,
was
15,
thinking, I was like I don't know that I could take him, but I knew that I bucked up to him. Like, hey, like I'm gonna hit you. And then he was like, go ahead. And I went ahead, and like it almost like as I was going ahead, it was getting blocked and I was getting hit. Like he did not seem that fast to me. Or I guess he had never
In your mind,
like
you're putting the old man down.
right. Like
You no mercy.
like I realized that there was a level of he was my dad until I tried to take him, and then he was a grown-ass man and I was a kid
Who was competition. It's that whole lion of the pride.
Somehow
right?
in my mind, though, I did not see him moving. Like that's like when I've rolled it back through my mind, like why was I so shocked with the momentum I went backwards when I thought I was going forwards? Like like I just totally underestimated the whole equation and what could possibly happen.
James,
and literally I just ended on my ass like boom, and I remember my head hurt really bad when I hit the floor.
James, you just rewatched The Sopranos. Remember when AJ stepped up to Tony?
Oh, so
It was
great.
like that was shut down real quick. Yeah.
The only other one I remember like that is I came home late and I was over 18. And back then 18 was the legal drinking age, but I was still living at home. Yeah. And he told me that I couldn't come home like after, I think the bars closed at 4. And when I was 18, like I couldn't come home after 4. And I came home like
or what? You got to stay out on the street?
Like, no. I came home. He just told me don't come into my house late if you're living over here. So I was sneaking up the stairs. Like I came in and I remember the stairs were to the left. And I went up the stairs and he was sitting quietly in the living room, which I didn't see him. Yeah. And I got like 3 steps up and all of a sudden I felt like something grabbed the back of my neck shirt like that. And I went,
yeah,
woof. And I ended up backwards. And it was not a good. I did hit the sectional sofa though, and so I kind of got saved a little bit.
Did all this happen in front of the Miss Buffalo runner-up who was sitting in your idling Trans Am in the driveway? I mean, I'm just trying to paint the picture of.
No, that I would have dropped her off by then, but it was possibly
I get the feeling
one of those.
T-tops were a big player.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, what kind of car did you have back then? What are we talking about? What was young teenage Emil running around Buffalo in?
So
okay, can't just be a Pontiac Firebird. Yeah.
I saved up money. Because I worked for my dad from like when I was 12 years old. And so the 1979 Pontiac Silver Edition Anniversary Trans Am. That was the one that had like the mirror.
Not the regular Trans Am, the anniversary one.
Brand new.
Right. It had the silver leather interior.
Brand new.
It was like I remember like the sticker price on it in the magazine was like 89. It was like 8,900 or like 9,000, I think, bucks. And you had to choose the cassette or the 8-track. Like those were the 2 options. Like all the rest of it, like it had certain set of rims, certain set of bird on the deal. Like everything looked the same, and it had to be stick or shift. And I took the shift, the automatic, and I took the 8-track.
I bet that handled great Buffalo winters.
Oh no! Then you would have a winter bomb. You would put that in the garage.
So you had 2 cars as a teenager.
Your winter bomb would literally be a car that had a heater that would work, maybe a radio, and then it would have like Bondo like all up and down the side.
Because you're gonna ding it up again. You don't care.
Yeah, well, you would slide into things in the winter.
Exactly. So,
and so it'd be demolition derby. And so you'd have a winter bomb like that, and then you would have a summer car. That's the way you did it.
Around the same time, I'm trucking around, the snow-capped hills of the south side of Chicago in like a 10-year-old Dodge Omni. Remember Dodge Omnis? They looked like little bread boxes.
I don't.
Yeah, just tiny little Oh God! What I would have
Well-
done for a limited edition 1979 Trans Am Firebird Deluxe,
But
whatever.
this is how my dad was like. So okay, we had the bowling alley that then after it burned down, he then turned it into a roller rink, and so we had a roller rink, and then he had a marina, and then he had a bar, and my uncle had the Lincoln Mercury dealership. So my dad would go and get a truck, and he would tell.
Just the one place burned down.
Well, no, they had two bowling alleys. They ultimately
Yeah,
both
what a
burned down.
surprise!
But that's a different story.
Did both
That's a
of them
long
burn
time
down?
ago.
Did your dad have more?
Both of them burnt. Yeah,
Listen,
and it was
Jake,
interesting.
Bad wiring back then.
It was interesting how it
It's
occurred.
just-
Aluminum wiring, yeah.
I was in second grade
Insurance
when the
was paid
second
up,
one.
Don't worry, insurance was all paid up.
Do you find any of this suspicious, Emil?
Well, now that I look back, I realized that certain things were certain ways, but I didn't realize
The
them. back
bowling
then.
alley burned down. Time to go fishing in Cuba.
Well, this is the funny thing. When the second bowling alley burned down, I was in second grade, okay? And so I was upstairs in my bed asleep, and the babysitter came upstairs, and she woke me up, and she's like, Emil, do you know where your mom and dad are? Because
Stop. You have a babysitter there at 2 a.m.?
No, I said I was in second grade.
You said the babysitter came up at 2 a.m.
I don't know the 2 a.m. part. She came upstairs. It was late.
Okay.
It was late. She comes upstairs.
70s swinging.
And so my mom and dad were out, and it was their anniversary. I remember it was late at night, and she comes in and she says, Emil, do you know where your mom and dad are? She goes, the bowling alley's on fire. and
Dad's hiding the cat.
we lived like literally like maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles from the bowling alley. And I was like thinking to myself, again? Like, because I remembered. And this is what, like, this is the thought of a second grader. Like I remembered, like, I was like, another one? Like, because I remember the one had burned down like a year earlier. And so.
And then Dad got a new boat.
No. And then next thing I know, so like I'm in second grade, like in Buffalo. And then next thing I know, middle of the year, we move. And I'm in now Canada.
One of those.
And my dad is running the racetrack kitchen at Woodbine. So.
Okay. Can we go back to the way we started this show when I told you CIA? Do you see all these little things, these little weird things? You alluded to something that we don't have time to get into tonight, but when you're talking about the time that he was on our show and he was basically like, yeah, I used to go to Cuba all the time in the 70s.
Go bass fishing.
Yeah, go bass fishing.
Like we don't have bass fish in Lake Tyler East.
And we're like, that was illegal in the 70s. Nah, my dad, we used to fly in.
Just travel embargo. Like, what do you think all the defections are of your favorite baseball players?
Hey, you guys ever been to an amusement park in Moscow? Hasn't everybody been to an amusement? That kind of stuff. All right. He can't hear what we're saying. I'm sorry.
I found the article
Oh, God.
that showed and proved that I went to Cuba.
Yeah, we don't doubt you were there.
We're not
That's
doubting
not
you.
what we're doubting.
It was in the paper, but you guys were saying it was some illegal Cosa Nostra thing that my dad had worked out. And no, it was in the Buffalo Evening News or whatever. They did an article.
We're not doubting that it was reported. We're doubting they left some things out of the article, and I don't know why. But
I have a picture of the article if you'd like to
What's
see it.
Cosa Nostra? I don't. You act like I know what that is.
Mafia.
I mean, this thing of ours.
Oh, you're just casually throwing around mafia terms with insurance fraud and trips to Cuba. No, nothing unforeseen here.
Oh. All right.
Download Florida Stories. It'll change your life. You'll lose 15 pounds. You'll grow an inch on your dick. I don't know what else to say. Your back hair will fall off. I don't know. Just go download it. It's doing great, by the way. Thank you.
James, one quick question for you and the chat room. Ian and I were talking about this earlier tonight. When your kid plays organized football, and you pay whatever the youth fee is, they provide the helmet, right? Like, you don't go out and have to buy, because I've never had to buy my kid a helmet. Do you know?
I haven't been in a helmet league, but I'm under the understanding each kid has to buy his own. Around here, I think that's how it works.
Wow, he's right. He's like, I think maybe it's true. I'm like, man, maybe I just don't.
It is.
Not
What do
how,
you
it's
think?
not how it is where I'm from.
Did they have an equipment locker where you just get some 8-year-old's last year's helmet or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they had. Yeah, there's the park district teams have helmets and pads and all that stuff. And
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I'm hesitant to speak on these things because
And my
Buck
high school
Russell
did
does so many
too.
things different.
My high school.
High schools definitely have equipment. High schools have free shoulder pads and helmets. Yes.
Yeah, I mean our equipment room was huge with just shoulder pads
Yes.
and yeah.
See, I think with all this head concussion stuff, like the sport has changed to where you can't, you got to pick a helmet that you're comfortable with. And there's so many different brands now. Even you see that in the NFL. There's not a standard helmet on a team.
Right. Yeah. All right. Everything's gonna be all right. Bye. E. We'll explore this later. That's the show. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Stop on by. High noon. Oh, gotta figure some things out. But yes, we'll see you tomorrow at noon for all your headlines, hot topics, current events, everything that's happening in the world. I give it to you in a nice little rundown, a neat treat, if you will. I consider it utilitarian. You need this show in your life. Oh, wasn't that nice? All right. Everything is gonna be alright.